Welcome to Exploring the Mystical Side of Life with your host, Linda Lang.
Hi, this is Linda Lang from ThoughtChange.com, energy healer, spiritual coach, and personal mentor. I'm here today with Anna-Karina Tabunar, a former broadcast journalist, documentary producer, and now a communications executive. And we're here talking about the energetic side of life. Welcome, Anna-Karina.
Hi, Linda.
Let's start by sharing how you started your exploration of the energetic side of life.
Well, I was turned on to energy healing when traditional medicine didn't work for me. I became very ill with a neurological condition maybe about 10 years ago, and it left me with a lot of pain, impaired vision, my mobility, my fine motor skills were all very difficult for me. When I went through the traditional medical system, I was not getting any improvement, and I wasn't able to foresee a better future for myself in terms of my condition. And so really it was out of desperation I turned to energy healing, and that's when I noticed an improvement in my well-being and in my overall health. And you were one of the healers who really helped me. So thank you.
It's wonderful to hear that you've had such positive results. And I think actually a lot of people don't consider energy healing until they can't find a suitable alternative.
And it's too bad because in my case, I really feel that if I had discovered this way of healing and maintenance for my body and my soul, I could have avoided a lot of medications and doctor's visits and a lot of stress.
And it's not just physical health, it's also emotional health and how our mind is able to process our life and how we connect with our own true spirit. It's kind of a holistic way of dealing with, I don't like the word dealing, it's a holistic way of supporting life.
Yes, supporting life. And just from my own experience, I know that when I get, let's just call it a tune-up, after a session with you, I feel more grounded, more balanced, and I'm able to perform better. I'm able to be a better parent, a better partner, a better spouse. And in my work too, I make clearer decisions. It seems like things fall into place, and I'm able to drive rather than sort of paddling and struggling. Things sail along for me because I have that clarity of thought and the confidence, and I'm grounded.
And one of the things that a lot of my clients tell me is that they have a lot of change in their life, things that maybe aren't a good fit for them fall by the wayside and new opportunities open up. Is that something you've experienced as well?
I really, really can say yes. I can totally attest to that. When I'm more grounded and when I'm clearer in my thoughts and I can tune out the noise in my mind, I'm able to pick up on the little signals that life tends to give us, and I can respond better. Yeah. And I don't get stressed out by the noise, so I can tune it out. So it's kind of like, you know, when you're in a room and there's lots and lots of chatter, and it's like a din, and you don't know where to look or who to gravitate toward. And then when all that is muted, and then you get the voice of clarity, and then you gravitate toward that, it's just so much easier.
You know, that's actually a beautiful description of it, because I think for most people, their minds are so busy or their emotions are really cluttered because they're holding on to all this past baggage that they can't actually tune in and really experience their own energy, who they are. They don't have that clear relationship with themselves. And
yes.
once they can clear all that stuff out and just really tune in, I mean, life is a whole different ballgame, really.
Yes, yes. And I have to say, what I'm noticing now in the business world is that more and more business leaders are realizing the impact and the benefits of mindfulness and presence. And we're all busy. And if you can imagine going into the business world when you're leading teams of hundreds and thousands of people, and you're working with multi-million-dollar budgets, and you've got pressures and you're being pulled this way and that way, it could seem like there's a crisis at every step. And then when you get mindful, when you get the clarity, that's no longer the case. So I can tell you, with the organization that I'm with, mindfulness is something that a lot of our employees are learning more and more of. Mindfulness. And I know that in some schools, they're already teaching children the benefits and how to be mindful, because you don't just fall into it. It's really a process, and it's step by step, and you do need a coach to guide you along. And that's one of the great benefits of what you do, Linda, is you help remind me how to be mindful, and you help take me to that path where I need to be, because it's so easy with distractions and competing priorities, or what we think are competing priorities, to kind of fall off the path and then to get distracted by that din. And so you have the gift of being able to help us tune out the noise.
I love that corporations are starting to embrace mindfulness. Not all corporations, but it's starting. And in schools as well, because there's such a gift in your own presence and knowing yourself. I mean, it's such a joy for me to bring more awareness to people, more self-exploration. It's not just about, clearing emotional baggage. It's really about connecting and exploring one's self.
Yes. And then the clearing of the emotional baggage and clearing out the noise is one step to get there. And it's a constant journey.
Absolutely, because life keeps showing us more, right?
Yes, always learning, always learning.
So Anna-Karina, what's the most surprising thing that you've experienced during your relationship with energy work?
It seems that every session opens my eyes to something new about myself. I'm really at a loss to think of just one. I'm really at a loss. Although I have to say, one thing that you've reinforced with me is the power of my own words. And that's my field. I'm in the field of communications. So I'm good at writing scripts, and I'm good at writing other people's stories and then positioning and amplifying them. And what I've learned through our sessions together is the way I speak my own truth is so important in what I'm able to manifest and what I'm able to really tune into with clarity. So that's one lesson that I have to keep reminding myself of, is to be gentle with myself and very deliberate and conscious with the words that I choose when I'm writing my own script.
Yeah, perfect. It's not just that thoughts create, but when we actually verbalize them, we empower them even more.
Because we're putting it out there.
Absolutely. And on an energetic level, it goes through the throat chakra, and we put so much energy into whatever we speak, whether it's positive or negative, and it just amplifies and then returns to us in what we attract, even how our own system responds to the words that we say. I can't tell you how many times people work with me and they tell me something, and their whole body and their whole energy system is saying, no, I don't believe you.
And I know exactly what you're talking about, because I've become much more aware and better in tune when I am with other people. And I hear their words, and then I look at their bodies, and I use that with my own children, and I go, do you really believe that? So this is a gift that you've taught me to use, not just on myself, but the people who I care about.
Yeah, because your energy system, your actual physical body will respond, and
Yes.
you'll start to feel really heavy or constricted or feeling pressure. And if you're so busy thinking, you're totally missing what
Yeah.
your body is communicating to you. One thing that I really try to impart to my clients is the fact that there's so much more going on than what meets the eye. In the energetic world, things aren't linear. From a higher perspective, miracles can happen like that. I'm sure, Anna-Karina, when you first stepped in, you opened up to this whole other world that maybe from a conscious linear thought process had never even been a possibility for you before.
My thinking just before I met you and going through energetic healing was, because my body and my brain were failing me, I was of no value. I couldn't do paid work. I couldn't contribute. That was my thinking. And once I came to the realization that I was my own barrier, and once I was able to change that thought process, things opened up. And I no longer consider myself of no value, because at the time my body was not working the way it was accustomed to. I couldn't read, I couldn't write, I couldn't hold a pen, I couldn't keyboard. So I equated that with utter failure. And that was just a false thought. So yes, there was some other work involved and a lot of rehabilitation. And a lot of it started with my own thinking.
So now you're in a much healthier state in mind and body,
Yes.
correct? So you still come for tune-ups. How come?
Because this is a process, and there's always something in it for me that helps me improve and helps me clear out the clutter. It's very easy to get caught up in the day-to-day between family and friends and work and just the day-to-day stuff. It's very easy to get off track and then get sucked into the noise. And then for me, I know that I need a tune-up when I feel stressed and I struggle to make decisions. Things aren't as clear to me. They don't come as easily. And by that, I mean when I'm working. So I need to be creative. I need to be productive. I need to also show leadership. And so that involves a lot of demands on many different levels. And so it's really important for me to stay grounded. And when I'm not, I can feel it in my body. And I feel it in my relationships too. My family will call me out on it. And so I come for tune-ups because when I finish a session, I physically feel better. My mind is clearer. I feel lighter, and I'm able to perform better in my work, in the day-to-day stuff. And I find time opens up for me.
I've had so many people talk to me about energy healing, not specifically my clients, but people that seem to think that you go once to an energy healer and you should be healed, period. End of story. Exactly. And one thing that people need to really understand is that an energy healer doesn't fix you. They can't do your work for you, but they can clear the energetic pathways that can really benefit you and make your journey a little bit smoother, easier, and have that sense of clarity about what's right for you and what's maybe not quite the best decision to make.
Yes, yes. And I'm 100% with you on that.
It's kind of like going to a dental hygienist. You don't go once and expect your teeth to remain clean forever.
Yes, that on steroids and so much more.
And so much more. And sometimes some people can have a little reaction to energy. Has that ever
Yes,
been your
yes.
experience?
That was my dog. And so he's just sitting at my feet. And whenever I have energy sessions, my dog falls right asleep. So I don't know, and I can't explain it, but I can see an impact with my dog. When we do our sessions remotely, he's in the same room. And I know that normally when we have our sessions, it tends to overlap with his walking time. And something happens when you're doing the energy healing and he's picking up on it too. It mellows him right out. So I have him at my feet. So you'll have to excuse him if you hear some noise. Yes, so you were asking about, I guess, side effects. Yes, I have noticed this on occasion. Sometimes when there's a big shift, I feel really exhausted afterward. Really, really exhausted to the point where I have to have a nap. I remember early on when we first started our sessions, maybe 8 years ago or so, I remember being so exhausted, just wiped out, that I would be sleeping for the whole afternoon after that. It's not to that extreme these days, but I find I often have to kind of take it all in for a good half an hour before I can resume my regular day. So that's been one of the side effects.
I think side effects are actually a good sign, because then you know something has shifted.
Yes.
And sometimes we need that kind of external confirmation so that we can start to have that kind of trust and faith.
Yes, because it's one you can't really measure a shift in your thinking. It's hard to measure, but you can measure your level of fatigue or your level of happiness. And so that's one way I know that the work that we do together works for me.
And it's interesting you say that you can't really gauge a shift in your thinking. That's often very true until we catch ourselves making a totally different choice than what our past pattern would have been.
Yes.
I can remember going to Wonderland with my family, and Wonderland is an amusement park that's all roller coasters, and roller coasters were not really my thing. And I went on every roller coaster, and my son turned around and looked at me and said, "Who are you? Are you possessed? You know, this isn't who you normally are." And I just thought, wow, that's a huge, huge shift for me.
Yeah, I can leave roller coasters alone. I'm good with that now.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Well, I really appreciate you coming and sharing some of your experiences, Anna-Karina. Is there anything else that you would like to share with the listeners before we wrap up?
What I would like to say is, if you've never done this kind of work before, just have an open mind, because I have sent people to you, people with a very strong, hard science background, who are looking at, well, can I test this with blood work? How do I measure this? How do I measure this? So I always said to them, just have an open mind. Yeah, just be open-minded. There's no harm. There's no pain involved. In fact, it can help alleviate all that. So just have an open mind.
Absolutely. And since I've started energizing water, it's a pretty clear example of it's a pretty tangible example of how energy work can shift reality when you can taste a difference.
Yes.
So it's fantastic. Fantastic. I appreciate you here on Exploring the Mystical Side of Life, Anna-Karina.
And I appreciate you and all the work I appreciate you and the work that you do and the time you always make for me and for my family, Linda. Thank you. And please continue to share your gifts with the rest of the world.
Thank you. Thanks for being our guest on Exploring the Mystical Side of Life. We hope you enjoyed this podcast. You'll find us on YouTube, iTunes, Anchor.fm, and come and visit me at thoughtchange.com. Pick up your copy of Learning to Listen. And if you have any questions about energy work and how energy medicine can make a difference in your life, please feel free to reach out. That's it for this week. We'll see you again next time. Bye for now.